last general election, the ground has shifted under Mr. Modi, Prime Minister Modi's feet, and several cracks are opened up. We can't be complacent. At the same time, we have to recognize that this authoritarian government is in a much weaker position. Thank you, Sashi. I think this is an important subject, and people who have the experience and mastery of the technical details of union state fiscal relations as they have been and as they are. I think we'll greatly look forward to their remarks and presentation, in particular by Thomas Isaac, former Finance Minister of Kerala. I want to place this in a wider context. The attack on democratic institutions, and part of the attack is an attack on the opposition-ruled states, not just the government, but directly or indirectly also on the people of those states, several southern states in particular. And Tamil Nadu, I think, is at the heart of this confrontation, whereas Sashi Kumar has said, governors are brought in. Governors have misbehaved before. We've seen the use of Article 356 on many occasions, including in the state, to dismiss or trouble elected state governments, dismiss in the case of Article 356. But there is a new form of attack on opposition-ruled states and denying them adequate finances for development, finances that they are entitled to, is part of this game that a government which has taken the path of incremental authoritarianism, softening up and wherever possible, suborning constitutional and democratic institutions, undermining India's already stressed secular foundations. This is the path this government has been taken. And the federalism, which has been recognized to be part of, or quasi-federalism at any rate, which has been recognized to be a part of the basic features or basic structure of the Indian Constitution by the Supreme Court, is also part of the, is also being attacked as part of this rising authoritarianism. Of course, after the election, the last general election, the ground has shifted under Mr. Modi, Prime Minister Modi's feet, and several cracks are opened up. We can't be complacent. At the same time, we have to recognize that this authoritarian government is in a much weaker position because of the sheer numbers of the Lok Sabha and also the changes that have taken place. Underlying these numbers, I think they are in a much weaker position. So there are many opportunities for progressive, democratic, popular forces, left forces to take the offensive in particular areas as part of coalitions and so on. The actions that I just called to mind, the government has brought executive power to bear on the independence of two constitutionally empowered institutions, the Election Commission and the Supreme Court. In the assessment of some critical lawyers, the Supreme Court, there's an attempt to turn it into an executive court. The finance commissions have also been ignored, and their recommendations have been defied by the union government. In all fairness, I must point out that this process has taken place not just during this government, but during the earlier Congress-led governments. The Congress party is complicit in weakening the foundations of what federalism, what measure of federalism has been provided in the Indian Constitution. We have to be absolutely clear about that. But this authoritarian attacks represent a new game. The Modi government has targeted, I don't want to go into the details, assaults on targeted freedom of expression, freedom, media independence, and other fundamental rights. And it has brought in draconian laws to incarcerate journalists, students, human rights defenders, civil society activists, and troublesome critics of the government, and incarcerate them or put them behind bars for prolonged periods without bail or trial. And everybody knows that India has sunk to a very low rank among in the index compiled by Reporters Without Borders, the World Press Freedom Index. There are various other attacks, illegal surveillance against a large number of journalists, politicians, civil society activists, and others. And also, the government has made a concerted effort to police and censor the internet, social media, streamlining platforms such as Netflix, and it's really on that path. It's getting worse. It has amended the citizenship law to make Muslims, as distinct from non-Muslims from Bangladesh, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, ineligible for citizenship. I don't have to go into the details. It's deployed brutal force to suppress democratic protests, notably demonstrations in December 2019 against the changes in the citizenship law that discriminate against Muslims, and then in 2020 and 21, those who demanded the repeal of the 3 anti-farmer laws. It has systematically, and this is where we come to the subject, misused agencies of the state for responsible for countering crime, corruption, income tax violations, and money laundering in order to go after and arrest political opponents, including ministers, chief ministers, and legislators. And the use of governors, I think one of the worst examples, two of the worst examples are the governors of Tamil Nadu and Kerala, who functioned openly as agents, crude agents of the ruling party. So it's no wonder that in opposition ruled states, every attempt is made to squeeze their finances, put pressure on their finances, particularly governments that have intervened in a big way, left party governments or left-led governments or non-Congress, non-BJP governments like the DMK that have invested heavily in the social sector. Kerala is the most important model for this, and its finances, its stressed finances are partly the result. I read about this in various papers. It's heavy investment in the social sector, which is not taken into account. There are many issues that have been brought to our notice, brought to the fore in scholarly papers, articles in the press by various people, including R. Ramakumar of the Tata Institute of Social Sciences. Newspapers have written about how cess and surcharge collected by the union government is now estimated to be around 23% of its gross tax receipts for 2024-25, and this does not form part of the divisible pool, not shared with the states, and the and on every front, the opposition-ruled states are being pressured. The most recent budget provided a shameful example of discrimination against states that need a better share of taxes collected. So there are various demands made here, ways forward that have been reforms suggested that the states generate around 40% of the revenue and bear around 60% of expenditure. And the Finance Commissions and its Commission and its recommendations are meant to rectify this imbalance. The contrary has happened, and so the suggestions include the suggestion that the divisible pool can be enlarged by including some portion of cess and surcharge in it, because the states get nothing out of it. Weightage for efficiency, criteria and horizontal devolution should be increased, and then create a more formal arrangement for the participation of the states in the constitution and working of the finance commissions. These are some of the reforms. I don't want to go further into the details, but I just want to make the point that the attack on federalism and the attack on the revenues, the finances of states that do not belong to the ruling coalition, do not obey the dictates of this authoritarian government and leader. I think this is very much part of a wider assault on democracy and people's rights. Thank you.